What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark, MikeTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm doing a second look at Joker. Because the same day I'm also dropping my review of Joker. Folie Folie I'm saying that really bad. I don't know. But I've seen Joker Folie and so Joker. I realized that. See, Joker's an interesting film because it dropped after I stopped reviewing due to like my blindness and me having like thoughts about like where was my voice? Am I allowed to comment on film anymore? So there's no like I have nothing. There's no old review on my website for Joker, and I haven't reviewed it yet on film. But I'd seen Joker before, so I think people just have lived in this weird. I'm sorry that you've lived so long in this weird void where you're like, I don't know if he's liked it or not. Did he like Joker? Is he a fan of Joker or not? I can't go on living, and I'm so sorry if I put you in that place. But directed by Todd Phillips, who was nominated for an Academy Award. Todd Phillips, not Oscar nominee. Brilliant, love it. Gives me. That should give John M. Chu all the hope in the world for getting nominated for Wicked, by the way. I'd be like, yeah, it could be you. You could be the next Todd Phillips. um, so he he's got Joaquin Phoenix here playing um the Joker. Uh, I guess it's a very interesting sort of take on the Joker. And it does kind of feel like when you're watching this, you're like, I don't think he wanted to make a sequel, but at the same time, he does do some interesting stuff here with it, where because I saw Folie and there was some stuff, some interesting stylistic choices that he makes here. I was like, maybe he was seriously making Folie Maybe that wasn't quite the middle finger that I thought it was. I thought Folie while watching it was sort of like an interesting, almost like what Lana Wachowski sort of did with Matrix Revelations, um, where she included in that the whole thing about the studio and the movie and reviving franchises, and if you don't do it, somebody else will, which just gave the vibe of why one Wachowski crawled out to do the fourth Matrix movie. Like the ill-advised, they're like, God damn, if we, they said if we don't do it, they're gonna give it to somebody else, and it's gonna look like the fucking Crow. They didn't know the Crow was coming, but I think everybody knew the Crow was coming. So it happens when you give it to somebody else who has no idea what they're doing. Um, so yeah, I guess Todd probably didn't want Joker Folie to be given to whoever made the Crow. Um, I never need to know that person's name, by the way. No one does. Actually, we do, probably to avoid it. It's like knowing Jason Freeberg and Aaron Seltzer. Um, but uh, this is, yeah, Joaquin's good here, but he's had better performances. I liked Joker, but I didn't love Joker. I kind of looked at Joker and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it's getting this much award praise. Oh my God, he won. Like that was kind of my feeling, my vibe was, I was like, okay, well, okay, that Best Picture nomination, I don't hate it, you know. And then, but then Joaquin won for actor, and I was like, wow, wow. I mean, I was thinking about like all the roles that he's done over the course of his career, and I was like, damn, this is the role that he wins for. Honestly, I prefer Heath Ledger. Like, if we're really getting into it, it's not that Joaquin's bad. Um, I think Heath really stepped into changing it up, and everybody has sort of chased that. The whole, when you look at Joker, Joker was one way before. He was always that like painted white face, sort of smiley, laughable, nihilistic, uh, but still a classy looking guy, like the old Batman series had him that way. Nicholson played him that way. The Batman animated series in the 90s played him that way. Everybody was playing him in sort of the very similar way. And then here comes Nolan with a completely different take on Joker, and Heath Ledger with this completely different take on Joker. And suddenly now we have Joaquin Phoenix doing this. We've got Jared Leto doing whatever the hell he was doing in Suicide Squad. You have people who are like, "Oh, we can reinvent Joker? I didn't know we could do that." So I think Joaquin owes a lot of what he did to the boldness of what Nolan and Ledger came up with. So it's hard for me to say like, "Oh yeah, well this is." I still like what Ledger did better, but I do think what I'm not mad at the nomination. Um, but Joaquin is such a strong actor where it's like there's any number of performances that he could win an Oscar for that's not Joker. So um, it's an interesting movie. I actually had a friend who was in it. I know the girl who gets the fries thrown at her. We're friends. So uh we go way back. So yeah, it's a film that I haven't given a whole lot of thought to. I do own this, by the way, on digital. It had audio description, and I got to listen once again to the audio description track. I think the first time that I saw this was when Max was still trying to figure out audio description, and I didn't see it with audio description. I think this is the third time I've seen Joker though. So it's very watchable. It's a gray sort of crime drama that hinges upon like a discussion of mental health and what that means. It does some really interesting things by shining a light by presenting you with Arthur Fleck in the lead role. You have to take a lot of things a lot of information he's given as being true, which makes you look at the Wayne family like they're fucking assholes. Because while while Bruce's father, I forget his first name. I'm not. I know. Bat fans. Look. I've consumed a lot of Bat. In the moment right now, I'm forgetting his name. I know what his name is. I'll probably remember it by the end of the review. Um, Charles, right? It's Charles. But um, when when she tells Arthur, when he finds that letter, and he talks to her about it, and then he goes and confronts, and they're like, "Oh, she was crazy," blah 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 blah. And I mean, she already detailed the fact that she had to sign like a document. She basically signed an NDA saying that she wouldn't talk about it. Like, why would you, if you're insane, why would you dream up signing signing an NDA? Like, if you were in a fantasy relationship with somebody, why would you add that to your fantasy? Like, they love me so much they had me sign an NDA. Oh my god, our love it just knows no bounds. So like, of course. So like in Todd Phillips's version, Charles Wayne is a cheating asshole, basically. And that is, and when you take this approach to Joker, when you take this approach to Arthur, when you see also the fact that there are times where he's not doing anything wrong and people just give him shit. Like he just gets a lot of shit thrown at him, and it's kind of like somebody who reaches their breaking point, somebody who already has mental health problems, who has this weird thing where they laugh instead of crying, um, or laugh when they're nervous or whatever. Like he has this thing where he laughs at where he's not supposed to, and he's seeing a therapist, and then they take away the therapist in the course of the movie. Budget cuts, right? Um, and it very much Todd Phillips has a very strong approach here that becomes really relatable, so that way you can relate to this version of the Joker, and you don't sit there and go, "Oh man, he sucks that he's killing these people." Even the yuppies on the train are assholes. You know, it's really hard. He didn't just like, he just walk up to people and go, I'm just killing random people now for no reason whatsoever, which is kind of a little bit what Ledger does in Dark Knight. Is his Joker is willing to blow up a fucking hospital to get his point across. He's got the two boats, right? I mean, he's got a lot of people who are just who you would easily classify as innocent as being like, but no, Arthur is generally is in a situation where he's always like put upon, and his mental health sort of drives him to the point of breaking. And it's an interesting exploration of mental health that's being used within the Batverse, um, and what happens when a system breaks down and pushes somebody to their breaking limit. If anything, this film has more in common with Falling Down, Michael Douglas's Falling Down, than it does with like a lot of other films, because it shares a lot of. But in that, Michael Douglas is obviously coming from a different place, and here Arthur is coming from the dredges of society. So you have to find a way in. You have to get the audience to sort of sympathize with a character like this, because there's nothing really to like or sympathize about. Especially like that scene where he's sort of flirting with a potential love interest with Zazie Beetz, and you're like, well, I mean, who could? You're thinking like, who could love this guy? Because he's just so unstable. Like he comes across as he's been tossed around and kicked around so many times that you don't know what he could do in any given moment. And that's one of the things that Todd does right here. I don't mind the praise that's being thrown at it. And I think Joaquin did a really interesting job of sort of bringing a certain level of humanity to Arthur. So that's where I'm at with Joker. It's definitely a better movie than Folie do. But and it's probably the best thing Todd Phillips has ever made or ever will make. So in terms of a film, I love The Hangover. Like in terms of rewatchability, I would honestly much rather watch The Hangover again than Joker. I've seen that more times, I think, than the Joker. But even The Hangover is not like at the top of my all-time comedies list. So it's just an easier film to pop in and take and be like, haha, that was funny. The sequels, not so much. But the Joker, yeah. So all that being said, the audio description is excellent. And I'm going to give Joker, now that I'm actually having to think about it, it's like, this is the third time I've seen it. And I'm like, what? Trying not to give like because there's that vibe of, well, I've seen it a couple times. I really love De Niro in this too. I think he's used sparsely, but he's used really well. Like the couple times we see him, I thought he did a really nice job. So that helps. And the fact that we're seeing like the Wayne death sequence from a different perspective, little things like that. The little interaction, I like the little interaction Arthur has with Bruce. Makes me think though about like where they're gonna go if they kept going with this version of Joker and then Batman. Like how old would Joker be by the time Batman gets to a fighting age? Anyway, yeah. I'm gonna give Joker an A-. I think it's a really good movie. I just don't think it's a great one. I don't think it's a perfect movie. But I think there are a lot of the things here that we take for granted that Todd is trying to do, which is trying to reflect upon how society looks at and treats mental illness, and even how the audience looks and treats at mental illness, because we all have a certain perspective on Arthur from the very beginning, because we're told he's the Joker, except for the fact that there isn't really a reason to have that from the very beginning. He's not necessarily the person who deserves all that hate and ire at the very beginning. So it's a creation story. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys on the other side.